Hello, welcome back you guys. I just thought I'd do a sit down video today because I don't really have too much to update you guys on my prep. I will do a video next week kind of on it because I probably should have a little bit more going on by then. Right now, I will start out by just saying I did just get a macro drop. Cardio's the same, so I'll kind of fill you guys all in on that once I actually spend a little bit of time on these macros and see how I'm feeling and see kind of how things go. But things are going steady, and so I thought I would do a sit down video because one of the highly requested videos, weirdly enough, when I put out a poll on Instagram before I ever started this, was a macros versus meal plan kind of sit down video. So I just want to start off by saying I have done both. I'm not a trainer, I'm not a nutritionist, so these are just simply my own views on what I think the pros and cons to both are and what I think a good option for different people are. So most of the time when people start a lifestyle change and they want to lose body fat or they want to gain muscle, one of the hardest things to adhere to is your nutrition. Many people actually, I find when I talk to them, don't struggle to go to the gym for an hour or do, any sort of exercise. It's actually following a diet or nutrition plan in order for them to get results. So nowadays there's kind of two ways to go about it. There's your traditional meal plan, which you get from your trainer or your coach that generally has, depending on your lifestyle, anywhere from 3 to 6 meals, and you adhere to that daily. And then usually if you're on a meal plan, you have a once a week cheat. That's, I would say, the most common thing, where you have one cheat meal, or some people even have a cheat day depending on their coach, and you stick to that meal plan. Now, if it fits your macros or flexible dieting, whatever you want to call it, is where you will choose what you eat. Your coach doesn't tell you at all what to eat, but they give you a certain limit or a certain range of numbers in which you need to reach. So you have proteins, carbs, and fats, which are in every single food item we eat. And there's a certain number of grams that you aim to hit every single day that equals a caloric intake. So this gives you the choice of what you want to eat and what you feel will accommodate your life as far as how many meals you want to eat and when you want to eat, but you need to adhere to these numbers. And most, I would say, when I was a lifestyle client, my coach told me to stay anywhere plus or minus 7 grams. Now that I'm on prep, I'm plus or minus like 1 to 2 grams, like right on the numbers I need to hit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I think the pros and cons to each are and what I think kind of the misconceptions of both are. And I'm going to try and make this only 7 more minutes. So wish me luck. Here we go. So first things first, the biggest thing I find with a meal plan, which I really think has a lot to do with your coach and the nutritionist or trainer or dietitian or whatever you choose to choose, is that a lot of people feel very restricted. Depending on the plan that you get, sometimes you only get one option for breakfast, one option for your snack, one option for lunch, one option for your snack, one option for supper. And that leads you to believe that only like these certain 10 magical foods will lead you to weight loss. And then, that whole cheat meal, free meal kind of idea just makes you go ham because you haven't had any other variety of food in your life for so long. And then often, you hit your weight goal or your physical goal or your dress size goal, and then all of a sudden you want to come off the meal plan, but you only believe that sweet potatoes, quinoa, chicken, turkey, and these foods are the only foods you can eat in order to remain healthy. So I struggle with that. But one thing I would say is if you have a good coach or a good trainer or dietitian or whatever, they'll give you many options. So I would say the best meal plans I've ever had are when a coach gives me 5 or 6 options for each meal when it comes to protein, carbs, fats, and there's a bit of a breakdown of kind of why you're doing this. So my very first meal plan I ever got from my very first coach, it said we're gonna keep your post-workout fats low because, this is a time we want your body to utilize your nutrients really quickly, and fat is slow digesting. And then there was multiple options for carbs. There was rice, there was potatoes, there was sweet potatoes, there was quinoa, there was even things like a Fiber One bar or a Pop-Tart, all those things still equal carb, but that's really based upon your meal plan. and the meal plan you get from your coach. So you have to be able to kind of see through it and see that those aren't magical foods. They're just a source of a carb or a source of a fat that generally is deemed more healthier or nutrient dense. Now, getting into kind of the pros of a meal plan is, honest to God, if you stick to that meal plan, you and your coach are exactly on the same page. There is no, room for error. It's structured. You don't have to stress. You don't have to plan. You're not sitting on an app, planning out your next day's food. That's a really big one, I think, is it takes away any stress, any guessing. You and your coach are on the exact same page, and you just don't have to worry. It's literally like a robot. You get told what to eat, you eat it. So if you're in a time crunch, or if you're feeling really overwhelmed, I personally went on a meal plan because I needed a break from macros. I needed a break from MyFitnessPal, but I wasn't at a point where, I was gonna intuitively eat, because I still had really strict goals that I wanted to reach. So I just asked my coach for a meal plan and just stuck to it because I wanted to be on the same page as him, and I did not want to count another macro at that time. So there's kind of pros and cons to both, and I think the biggest thing with the meal plan is having a more diverse meal plan instead of just like one food item for each one, and remembering to take away that it's not magical foods, they're just nutrient dense foods, and there's a caloric goal still in mind. So this brings me to my next one, which is macros, and this has been like hugely popular on Instagram. I mean, I think that like honestly Instagram made If It Fits Your Macros like famous, and flexible dieting. So as I said, you're basically doing math. You're eating foods to equal a grand total of numbers and proteins, carbs, and fats, which equal caloric intake. You do allow yourself some treats, but you also keep a lot of nutrient dense foods in your diet, which that's kind of how I followed it in my off season. Now that I'm in prep, I'm not gonna lie to you, like my macros are kind of keep getting lower, so the Oreos keep getting lessened and the nutrient dense food stays high. I think the biggest pro to counting macros is you truly understand what's in your food, and you understand what makes up different components of food, so that eventually when you go into intuitive eating or back to a normal life, you definitely know your portion sizes. You definitely understand where food breakdown comes from. You understand that there's no good, bad food. There's no magical food that's gonna make you shredded. Like sweet potato doesn't have a magical power, you guys, I promise. So that's the awesome thing. And it makes it really easy for you to kind of monitor where your food is at and make small increments up if you're going into building muscle or bulk or trying to gain some weight, and small increments down so that when you lose weight, it's very steady and it's not rapid and it's maintainable. Weighing out your food, being on a meal plan, being on macros, all that is not normal. It's a choice that you make to either reach a goal or a fitness goal or weight loss goal or whatever, but it's not a normal lifestyle thing, and you have to remember you have to transition out of it. And I find a lot more people struggle with transitioning out of macros into intuitive eating, because you're just so used to seeing food as a number instead of a food item, and being mindful when you eat, because you're always trying to hit a target number, that it doesn't matter if you're full, you have those macros left, you just keep eating, or vice versa, you're hungry, you just stop eating because you don't have any macros left. And you can kind of sometimes lose, I would say, like lose that sense of being in tune with what you actually need as a person. So that's kind of a con with macros. One other con to being like a macro dieter, I would say, or a flexible dieter, is how flexible you actually treat the diet, especially if you are not in competition prep. Are you willing to go out to restaurants and estimate macros and be okay with that? Are you willing to, be over and under sometimes and just chalk it up to life? You do have to remember the point of macros is still being flexible while being, you know, a healthy individual and choosing some nutrient dense foods so that, you know, you do have some resemblance of health in your life. So it's kind of all about balance, really. And us competitors don't really have balance, but for a lifestyle person, balance. So I think what it comes down to is finding something that fits for you. And depending how strict your goals are or kind of where you want to head, at the end of the day, whether you choose macros or a meal plan, you have to take away portion sizes. You have to take away, you know, foods that satiate you. You have to take away nutrient dense foods, but also realize, you know, kind of that there's no good or bad food, because at the end of the day, whether you choose to do macros or you choose to do a meal plan in order to reach your fitness goals, there is science behind both, and the science is you need to be in a caloric deficit. There's studies done, and there's a ton of things that, I mean, I know there's keto, paleo, and all these different things. There's shakes, there's teas nowadays, but at the end of the day, you have to be in a caloric deficit. You have to burn more calories than you're consuming in order to lose fat. And that's the bottom line. There's no magical pill. There's no special diet. You know, you have to be in a caloric deficit. Which you choose to go about that is totally up to you. And you need to find something that fits your lifestyle and your goals. But there's no magical solution. So that's kind of my thoughts on both. Honest to God, I would say if you're feeling overwhelmed and the whole thought of macro tracking seems just like, because when I explain it to people, they're like, oh my God, that's so much. My first coach, she actually gave me a meal plan, and then in the meal plan were the macros, and then I slowly kind of got the hang of like what she was telling me to eat in the meal plan, what the macros were, and that back into MyFitnessPal, the app I use, and I was able to kind of break it down and kind of see how macros work and go from there. So I think it really depends what you want to do, but it comes down to a caloric deficit and watching your portion sizes for any kind of fat loss goal. So I don't know if that really answered any questions, but that's kind of my thoughts on the two. I think there's really strong pros to both, and I think there's really, like, honestly, really big downsides to both, because I think weight loss is honestly, or fat loss or building muscle, they're such tricky things to achieve, and it requires so much time and so much patience, but it doesn't come easy, it doesn't come fast, and you really got to stick to the plan. I mean, even when people ask me how I built muscle in my off season, that's because I ate a caloric surplus for like a year and 6 months. That's how and I probably maybe gained 5 pounds of muscle. Maybe. Like, I don't even think I did, but that would be sweet if I did. So you have to find something that works for you, find a plan that works for you, your lifestyle, and remember to give yourself enough time and have patience, and to keep, whether you choose to do macros or you choose to do a meal plan, I always recommend getting a coach for accountability and being 100% honest and sticking to the plan and being consistent, because that's what gets you results. And that's it. That's my video. All right, see you guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.